Let's say Aunt Sally asks you for a favor. Can you take me to the airport tomorrow? No doubt, you've all been asked for this favor. We've all been faced with requests from our friends, our family, maybe our Aunt Sally, that we need to refuse because we're busy or we don't want to do what they're asking. Either way, the way that we say no in those situations isn't quite as simple as you may think. I'm a linguist, and more specifically, a conversational analyst. So I do linguistic things like study the history and structure of language, but what really excites me is how people use that language in daily interactions. One of the most fascinating things about conversation is how very little is spontaneous. Everything we do is systematic and meaningful, and that includes where we take a breath, where we place our gaze, and how we use silences. I bet you know what's coming after this. A 1-second silence can feel like an eternity. In conversation, we desire to keep things moving. So when silences like this arise, they serve a purpose. They allow the speaker to delay telling bad news, and they allow the participant to prepare for it. So by the time Nancy comes in with her response, Aunt Sally is probably already making plans to take the bus to the airport. In addition to silence, Nancy's using some other resources here. She's using It's another way that we delay bad news. And a classic, I can't. Well, it's not really about ability, right? It's about availability or desire. But either way, we use I can't so often to say no without having to say the word. And finally, Nancy provides an excuse or an account. Now, we all know that I have a work thing isn't exactly foolproof, but that's not the point. The point is we like to give a reason that we cannot grant the request. We do this so we can save face. Saving face is just a fancy way of saying we want to look good, kind, benevolent. We always want to look good, and in fact, it is one of our greatest motivations. And generally speaking, we don't want to do things that threaten the face of our partner. We also want them to look good. So you don't have to be a linguist to look at this interaction and know what's going on. Nancy is saying no to Aunt Sally. And I would be willing to bet that Aunt Sally also understands that that is what's happening. We have some other resources to do the same thing. We can laugh. We can pay our partner a compliment, or we can use, I don't know, the ultimate delay. So why do we go through so much trouble to avoid using this one little word? Well, the basic goal of human interaction is affiliation. We want to feel like we're on the same page with our partner at all times. No is an indication that everything has gone wrong and we are not on the same page. So we have to soften the blow. We are doing real-time crisis management. And just as this is true, the opposite is also true. It's really easy to say yes. These two equal signs that you see on the slide, that means it's happening almost simultaneously. When we can give our partner the answer they want, it's quick, it's enthusiastic, and it's highly affiliative. This is a universal truth. Cross-linguistically, data shows that yeses occur faster than nos. So let's look at this from a different perspective. You don't have to be a linguist to know what's going on here. One of the parts of the Me Too movement is reckoning with the impossible standards we hold women to, especially when it comes to consent. No is not a linguistic resource we use very often because we have a host of other resources to do the same social work without threatening anyone's face. So why is this word so important in this one really specific high-stakes situation? It's time for us to recognize this and start moving towards policies of affirmative consent, like they've done in the state of California and in Sweden. Now, of course, affirmative consent comes with its own problems, but it is a step in the right direction. And as we've seen, saying yes enthusiastically and verbally is much more common and thus more easy than saying no. Of course, it's not that simple. But we don't have to focus solely on broad strokes and power dynamics. We can start at a smaller interactional level between two individuals. We can encourage young people through sex education and college orientations to simply have conversations with their sexual partners and use the linguistic resources that they already possess to listen to the answers they're getting and not the one they want to hear. No means no, but so do a lot of other things. Let's start holding people to a higher standard when it comes to consent. And remember that what may seem ambiguous isn't that ambiguous after all. Thank you.